Good evening and welcome. This video is an Ask Me Anything, and so a few days ago I posted a status on my Facebook page, which you should check out if you haven't seen it. Link will be up here, or probably on one of these two sides. I don't know which side I'm pointing to, and where I created a status saying, ask me anything, and I'll answer your questions with facts, opinions, or intense sarcasm. Now, I got very few silly questions, which is a little bit disappointing. But before we get started, I just want to address something. On April Fool's Day, or at least it was April Fool's Day in New Zealand, where I live, people in the other parts of the world might have had it published on the 31st of March. I can do very little about that situation. But I published a video on April Fool's Day, and I may or may not have teased woodwind players a little bit, but I just want to put it out there. For the record, I do know that the instruments I had on hand were indeed a flute and a clarinet. Okay, I did know that. But thanks to the 37 people who mentioned that, the 6 emails I got and various other forms of abuse, but that's all good. I just wanted to clear the air slightly. Anyway, I had this Ask Me Anything, and I'm just going to answer the questions briefly in the order that my phone presents them to me. Andrew Oliver says, can you play a tuba with a bassoon mouthpiece? Yeah, probably could. Bassoons don't, somebody's pointed out, they don't use a mouthpiece. They have a sort of compensating thing because they can't do what we can do with our lips. Why you'd want to sully a tuba with that sort of arrangement, dunno. You probably can make it work. Will it function? Dunno. Why bother? Alec Bennington, what is your opinion on the Con 16E mellophonium, etc, etc? He's actually got about 5 or 6 of these, and we've arranged for him to send me one to do a review on at some point in the future. So here's a little shout out. If you've got something you want to send me, but the shipping is probably going to be a bit expensive, get in touch with me because I'll probably pay the shipping if it's something that I think is interesting enough to review on this channel. Trevor Hulse said, hey Trent, in 2015 I microwaved a trumpet for an internet video I was making, but it actually freed up some of the long-term gunk inside of the horn, and after another hot bath it was almost as good as new. Would I recommend this technique? Absolutely. Absolutely. I see no reason why you shouldn't put metal instruments in a microwave. Most trumpets will easily fit in a microwave. I think that's a brilliant idea. The only thing better would be to get one of those old CRT TVs, because of the high voltage stuff that they've got that powers the CRT. Perhaps break that and rest the trumpet gently inside the electronics for that. I think that'll work brilliantly. Disclaimer, don't actually do that. Chandler Yeoman. My bass trombone has a dependent trigger system, and the first trigger puts the instrument into F like normal, but the second trigger, which can only be used for the first trigger, which is the definition of a dependent valve system, puts it into E flat. Is this normal? It's not unnormal. Most trombones are in B flat, F, G flat, if they're in an independent, or D. D is the ending both trigger combinations. However, it is not uncommon to have a G slide on that second valve that puts it onto into the key of E flat instead of D. It's not that uncommon, it's not unheard of, it's a little bit unusual, but it's nothing to be concerned about particularly. Dakari Michael Bass, or Bass, how would you recommend balancing out being a full-time bass trombone player as well as a tenor trombone player? I've lost quite a bit of my upper register when I pick up my tenor, and it's harder to play pedal tones on the bass. My advice, frankly, is choose one. You either want to be a bass trombonist or a disappointment to your parents. You can't do both. So I'd recommend you choose one and flag the other. Personally, I prefer bass trombone, but it's up to you. Gary Jackson, rumour is an older bark trumpet, say a Model 37 or 72, is better than a new bark trumpet. If this is true, in which way is it better? Tone? Valve action? Cheers from Barnsdale, Australia. I'm actually surprised that Australian has managed to use the internet, but Perhaps he comes from another country originally. I've just purchased 3 Model 37s and a couple of 72s and a new brand spanking new Bach trumpet, just so I can answer that question. Video will be up shortly. Bethany Hitchcock, this is less of a question and more of a song request, but can you play something from Lord of the Rings on trombone, like the Fighting Uruk Hai or the Rowan theme, just because you are from New Zealand and all? Thanks from Canada. Yeah, absolutely. Sure, why not? There was a composer who did a 45-minute whole concert about Lord of the Rings stuff, completely separate to Peter Jackson's adaptations, but why not? Sure, I'm from New Zealand, I look rather like a hobbit, no worries. Hi, Jacob Barr. Hi Trent, do you have any tips on writing for low brass? I'm specifically wondering, as I am a composer slash arranger, specifically I'd like to know what the comfortable ranges are of the trombone and tuba. Somebody said 7 feet, 2 meters, that's an adequate range. Anything within that zone is going to be in range, and there will be damage, no worries. Abel Ocampo. Well, I play trombone, Trent, and I was kind of wondering how long did it take you to master the trombone, and how many instruments do I play? See, that's the thing. You could say that I can play them because I can make a sound out of them, but I will never claim that I'm a master of any instrument, and by what definition do you define being able to play? Kyle Benbrook. As a trombonist and tubist, I have often given thought to purchasing a bass trombone. What role, spelt as in rolling down a hill, does a bass trombone typically have in a symphonic band? It's like the bouncer that prevents woodwinds from being able to come into the group. Effectively, that's what the bass trombone does. Charles Story, how important is lead pipe clearance and mouthpiece? Very important. If you don't have a lead pipe and you don't have a mouthpiece, then you're just going to be spitting into the wind. Sean Sutherland, have you ever played an ophicleide? Will you ever buy another contrabass trombone? Will you ever buy a cimbasso? No, I haven't played an ophicleide. I might one day buy another contrabass trombone. I'd love an F contrabass trombone. Will I ever buy a cimbasso? Again, I'd love one. Don't have $3 to buy one from Wessex Tubers or whatever the cheapest place is. Mike Sutton, what is a good mouthpiece for an E-flat alto horn? One that fits. Corey Genovese, if you could learn any new instrument in a day to a professional standard, what would it be? Have to say your mum. No, if I could learn any new instrument in a day. Serious question, deserves a serious answer. I've got nothing. Jackson Stradley asks, what makes a good bass trombone part? Where does it belong in an ensemble? And what are your favourite pieces and excerpts? You can usually tell the difference between a bad bass trombone part and a good bass trombone part by the number of Fs it has under the stave. Bass trombone is usually near the back. What are my favourite pieces and excerpts? Anything with many Fs under it, really. Excellence comes through volume. George Stokes, what do you think is the ratio between a good instrument and a good player in terms of the sound that an instrument makes? Well, in my case, the ratio is by weight about 1 to 10. For every 1 kilogram of trombone. Actually, no, it would be a lot worse than that, wouldn't it? It would be about 1 to 1,000,000 in my case, is the ratio of biomass and metallic construction. Hunter Chalmers, what would you say would be the best trumpet mouthpiece for high range? I would be very careful about playing anything high in a trumpet. Frankly, some of the music that they get lead jazz people to play, I have seen the whole section afterwards having to push in the piles of that trumpet player. It's a very dangerous thing to do. Thomas O'Connor, what is your favourite instrument of the brass band to play, and can you name all of the instruments you have played or can play? My favourite instrument of the brass band depends very much on the quality of the writing. I love playing fast stuff on euphonium. I love playing soprano cornet if my lip's up to it. I love playing E-flat bass, and sometimes when it's got some agility stuff. And I love bass trombone in a good classic march. Can I name all the instruments that I have played? Well, I've got Betty, I've got Doris, there is Mavis, Margaret, etc. I've forgotten all their names. Sam Pravo, have you ever mangled an instrument so bad it has the playability of a stick you found in your backyard? Yes, I drove over a trumpet. Brandon Ingram, is a 4-valve non-compensating worth it for an intermediate college student, or should you jump straight into compensating? You won't fit, frankly, if you try to jump into either, but just go with what your budget is most comfortable with. Tony Visick, is there a such thing as too much sarcasm? Yes, absolutely. Hate sarcasm. If you fall into a sarcasm, there's no help for you. Max Lawrence, what's your favorite trombone part you've done in a brass band? Most of them. What a knout, Tyler John, what a knout, the brass band is so appealing. Well, frankly, it's the band that I've grown up with. I'm about a 7th generation brass band musician. It runs in my blood, which is probably something I should get checked out. Matthew Freeman, what's your favourite instrument to play on? Flute. Herminio Kabaya, my apologies for that pronunciation, will we ever see your wife and child? Judging by your display picture, really hope not. Christophe Andre, will you buy a new contrabass trombone and do videos about it? I'd love to, because my wife gave birth 3 months premature, which was a little bit unexpected in and of itself. That's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. Martin Askew, what's your view on non-members playing in the Salvation Army band? For practices and rehearsals, got no problems with it. Depending on what sort of situation you've got and how traditional the band is, they might have their own opinions. I personally would welcome anyone into our band if they wanted to play along with us at our rehearsals. Not a problem. Fabian Gottardi, what instrument do you want to learn the most? Whatever my previous answer to that was. Viktor Rehorovsky, with several lines and things above it. Whose name has a jazz scoop above it? I've no idea. When will you learn to play the French horn? Probably won't. I value my dignity. N. Coyle asks, how do you flutter tongue? Something like that. Nick Feingold, what is the proper way to hold a French horn? Firstly, you grab it in your right hand. Secondly, drop it into a rubbish bin. Nick Feingold, what do you think of a contrabass French horn? Really, why would you put that effort in? Frankly, buy a tuba. Isaac Wheeze, how useless is a bass trumpet? Pretty useful, pretty useless. And Lachlan Nidri asks the question, Riley Patterson. I don't know why people don't share things in the proper meaningful way, they just post a comment with a person's name. Anyway, there's a quick fire question and answery sort of thing. If you want to ask me a question, feel free to put something in the comments below. If you are not familiar with my Facebook page and you want to connect with me on that, then you're most welcome to do so. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching and I hope you have an evening.